Hello, Teacher Preston here with another video. So I've talked about primary school learners, older primary, high school. Now I want to talk about older learners, so adult learners, not older learners, sorry, my mistake, adult learners. I think one thing to bear in mind with adult learners, especially in a lot of countries like Russia, is that they've learned the grammar, they've learned they know how to write the language, they know how to read it. But their problem is speaking. So I think a good strategy for older adult learners, sorry, caught myself again, is to treat it like a conversation. So just talk. One strategy I'm doing with one of my adult learners at the moment is I use a whole lot of, find a whole lot of questions and we talk about that sort of topic. I think also the other thing is that maybe getting them to read more, so talking and reading, because that way you find words. So I think the main thing with older learners is, well, adult learners, sorry, again, is that it's about enlivening enlivening or revitalizing the language, because a lot of them haven't used English for a long time. So say 5, 10 years. So what you find is that the language didn't go anywhere. Well, they've become rusty. It's sort of oxidized a bit, I guess that's the word, but it's still there deep in the mind, tucked away, in their minds, tucked away. And basically what you're trying to do is make it percolate, make it come to the surface. Very, very important. And make them remember what they have. I think a lot of people have learned it. Obviously, you have countries where, like China, where adults haven't learned English, or Vietnam, but in countries like Russia, like Poland, like Romania, they will have learned it. It's just that they won't have learned it, won't have used it for a long time. So, talking. What did you do on your holiday? So talking, and then in the reply, when you in the conversation, maybe just tweaking it and correcting here and there. Very, very important, because make it as if they sort of correct, well, they're learning, not learning, I guess, revitalizing their English through talking and listening. Very, very important. So listening is why a lot of these language courses are so successful. Like Routledge or Teach Yourself, because especially if you listen before you go to sleep, because it plants the language in your long-term memory. Very, very important. I think also another thing is that could be that older learners, you need to work with them a little bit on pronunciation. That could be the case as well, because they haven't used the language in a while. They haven't heard themselves speaking. So I guess could be similar to a deaf person in a way. That's why deaf people struggle speaking, because they can't hear themselves speak, but also when you haven't heard the language, or you haven't heard yourself speak the language in a long time, could be sort of, what's the word? Could be that the language is sort of oxidized. You know, a lot of people say the expression become a bit rusty. That sort of thing. I think very, very important to keep that in mind. Yeah, I think I think also explaining to older learners that it's a long-term process. Also, it's not a one-way street, like in all education. It's a relationship, and it takes time. That's the thing, because a lot of people these days sort of go to these learning centers, and some of the learning centers have made false claims, like, speak English in 2 weeks, or that kind of thing. That's not realistic. I think understanding long-term, that it's a long-term thing, that you have to put in the work as well. And a lot of times with my older students, I've had this, where they say, oh, I'm busy, I can only do it once a week. Well, you're not going to get anywhere once a week. It's sort of something that you have to do every day, and you have to practice. You have to work at it. There are no quick fixes in this life. That's why polyglots are successful, because they are studying languages all the time. That's why they can absorb languages so quickly, is because they're studying, they're putting in the work, they're not just sort of sitting there. And I think that sort of brings me on to my last point, is setting goals. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in 6 months? Where do you want to be in a year? What do you want to be able to do? That sort of thing. Okay, so to recap, I'd say number one strategy for adult learners is enlivening the language, not really teaching it again, but enlivening it, bringing it to the surface. Because a lot of adult learners know English, it's just dormant. Obviously, there are the odd that don't know English, and you have to start from the beginning, but most don't. I'd say number two as well, start it like a conversation. It's not teaching so much, it's more about reading and talking and discussing things. Very, very important. Start it like a conversation. I'd say three is to make your students be aware of the realities of learning English, and for that matter, any language. That it takes time, and that they're going to have to put the work in. So they're going to have to read, they're going to have to find words, they're going to have to do research. That's just the nature of it. And I'd say 4, set long-term goals as well. Very, very important. Anyway, thank you for joining me for today's video. Bye-bye, and see you in my next video. Bye-bye.